Welcome to Podcast Marketing Secrets, the place for entrepreneurs, coaches, and CEOs who are looking to grow their business with a podcast, become a key person of influence in their industry, and get their ideal clients to come to them, also known as attraction marketing. I'm your host, Al Morentin. My guest today is Aaron Witnish. Aaron is the co-founder of ContentOnly AU, which specializes in extraction systems that creates 30 days of content in 90 minutes for personal brands. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Al, it is fantastic to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, you're coming all the way from down under in Australia, right?
Yeah, we joke when we get on the podcast that we're in the future, so we can tell you what the future looks like.
That's awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to where you are now in your business?
Yeah, well, I my first sort of dabble with marketing and content was in 2008. And that was where the internet, social media, a lot of the platforms that we use today weren't even in existence. But the formula is very simple: copywriting for niche digital products and driving traffic with Google Ads. And then through doing that, people reached out and said, "Oh, you're doing stuff on the internet." And that's how an agency started some 14 years ago, all the way back in 2010. But what ultimately led me to the 30 days in 90 minutes system was I was on a Zoom call, a bit like we are now with a bricklayer. It was one of my clients in our agency. And he said, "I want to build up my profile inside the construction industry. And I want to start doing some videos." And it occurred to me that getting Mark was the client's name on camera and trying to film content would be a challenge, but he's really good at having conversations. So we were on Zoom. I said, "Let's hit record." And I just started asking him questions. How did your business get started? What are some of the challenges? Tell me some stories. How do you help builders? What are some systems you use? And then we stopped recording and I gave it to an editor on my team and said, "Can you just cut this into some clips and see what we can use?" And I got about 12 clips back from a 20-minute conversation. We put Mark's branding onto the videos in short form, sent them back to him, and he was like, "Wow." And I thought, okay, people that do podcasting, people that are already creating content, this model is perfect for them because they're already doing the work, and repurposing it can create all their short form content that can drive back to their long form content, like their podcast, and be a great strategy to keep building their show, their listener base up, and their own profile.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's beautiful. And what about when was that you just discovered that?
This system is probably only in the last 8 months or so, oddly enough. So we've been doing content for over a decade through the
Hmm.
agency. It was like pulling teeth trying to get clients to get
Yeah.
us visuals and what we needed and information. And then, even though it's quite obvious now, getting them on for a conversation and asking questions solves all those problems in 90 minutes a month. So yeah, it was almost by accident that we came about this system after years of doing it the hard, inefficient way.
Yeah, yeah. But that you said you've been doing it since 2008, and that's I started studying internet marketing from Ken McCarthy in 2006. He was like the godfather of internet marketing, and that gave me a leg up for people today. So I'm sure you have a great leg up. Mine was more centered around SEO as opposed to the advertising part and everything like that. So I have my own little niche and stuff that I was really good at and still am. But that experience that you have, and doing creative and all the different things, give you like a huge leg up on the younger people that are just like, hey, and just having AI do it and all this kind of stuff, right? So, and it's cool that you figured that out too, that, there's other people that already have this content and you could just chop it up for them and, give them all this content that'll last them weeks or a month or whatever, So, and speaking of AI too, it's something that people could do, sort of, but it's a skill set and it takes a bunch of time, So having someone like you to do that and just hand it over to a business owner, that's gold.
Yeah, to that AI point, I think that there's a lot of tools out there that can do versions of repurposing and cutting, but
Yeah.
the challenge with that is, to the SEO point, if you're not finding the content that's relevant that your target audience is searching for, and you just leave it up to AI, you're probably going to get a pretty vanilla product, especially
Mhm.
on the writing side. If you're letting AI rewrite everything for you, the odds of it being duplicated and that someone else has posted something almost identical is very high. So having a hybrid approach where you have some human quality control in there makes a great experience for efficiency and quality at the same time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, because like I like to think of it as the AI, like it moves the starting point, like there's stuff on the screen instead of it being blank, but you still got to tweak it and do that and put your human touch in there and your spin, and that's what makes it unique and that much better too, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And for people that are podcasters, I think the benefit for them is they've already found their voice, they've already got their platform. So we've got the authentic original content ready to go in their episodes, and
Yep.
repurposing that, it's not going to be something that someone else has already posted somewhere else online because it's all come out of your mouth.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, stepping back a little bit, you sort of touched on a few things where you were bumping your head, like trying to get people to deliver things on time or at all and all that kind of stuff. So what is the biggest challenge that you see for people when it comes to creating content?
The big one would be there's a series that sort of go into there's so many moving parts. So first of all, what do you post? The content ideas in themselves. And the great news is I'll give a few resources that can help with this. There's tools out there that tell you exactly what your audience is typing into search engines and what content they're looking for. So even if you just go to a tool like Google and you type in a search for your niche, if you scroll down a little bit, it's got people also ask section. You can see the questions that they've typed into Google. That's completely free and takes a few seconds. Then you've got more advanced tools like vidIQ that'll tell you what people are typing in, but also how many times they're typing in a month and what the competition looks like. So you can go, okay, if 30,000 people a month are looking for this content and it's low competition, I can step in and do some content about that and have a really good chance at ranking for it if I label my content for that search. So there's opportunities to get your content ideas in seconds without having to guess what your audience is searching for. And the second thing is, what do I post? When do I post? Where do I post it? I think that paralyzes a lot of people. So to solve that one, I always look at what's the primary platform that has your target audience on there? What times are they most likely to be on the platform consuming content? And just by rethinking that a little bit, okay, this is the platform that I should focus most of my content on. And this is when I should post the content because that's when I'm going to have the most eyeballs on my content. So little things like that can give you a real edge when you're just starting out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And again, those are all things that don't come naturally to a business person, like a HVAC guy or a plumber or an e-commerce person, like that, like it does, like all of that, all those analytics and looking at statistics and the and even to like just a regular person, consumer or a business person, if you look at the two different videos, you're not going to see the SEO difference, but the back end will, YouTube will, Google will, and it'll deliver it out to like you said, the right audience, which is all super cool. And that's like a super like awesome skill set to have, but like I said, it takes forever to learn that when you could just hire out to someone like you and greatly decrease that time to value and just get rocking and rolling and do your business. So that's super awesome. So how do you help people get with the ideas? Is it through the questions that you ask during the interviews?
Really important to understand who someone's audience is, and everyone's going to be some get super narrow. Their niche can be very laser
Hmm.
focused. Others can be in like the entertainment category where they can go as broad as possible. The more you know about who the content is for, the more you can curate it, the more depth it will have. And I think the challenge is a lot of people want width and they go, I want as many eyeballs as possible. But if it's in a business sense, you actually want depth because when someone spends time invested and engaged with your business and your content, that's what actually leads to getting a client or customer. You can reach thousands of people, but if none of them are going to be in the category that buys your service or product, then it might feel good because you've got thousands of views, but it's actually not going to have an impact on your business. So it's separating who you're making the content for and why you're making it. Is it to get customers or clients for your business, or is it for brand awareness? And that's when you start curating content to help achieve that goal. So solving and talking to that target market's problems. So you look like the solution to those biggest problems for them. And then when you show that capability and you build that trust, that's when they go, okay, you can clearly help me. So where do we go from here? And that's how you get clients through the content journey.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I've seen that too, like where like more often than not, actually, where the really successful people, a lot of them, the huge guys, that some of them will have like a really small following, but the people in there are hyperactive, in the community, and they like, they climb the ladder, the value ladder, in the business, and purchase product after product. So, and I find that with my business too, because I hone in on customer service a lot, so people stay around and stuff like that. That's really key, so having, delivering the content to the right demographic, not just making content and the right content and putting it out at the right time, but also delivering it to the right audience. And that could greatly boost the effectiveness, right? So, all that stuff, even the time of the day of the week, all that stuff. So yeah, it's all a very thoughtful process. So the uh, what is there a platform that stands out more than others right now?
I think everyone should definitely have a search presence on YouTube. And the reason why, if you're creating content, and let's say you've got a primary social media channel, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever, the reason why a platform like YouTube is so powerful for putting your content on is that search element. It can get discovered over and over again, day after day, especially if you've optimized it. Whereas content on social media tends to have a 24, 48-hour life cycle unless someone re-engages it and pushes it back up through the feed. So by having search engine visibility, you're creating an asset that can get found over and over again. So I would say to anyone that's in business, regardless of the industry or niche, if you're doing video, put it on your social media platform that has your target audience, but also put it on YouTube for that search engine optimization opportunity that not many people are taking advantage of.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's super awesome. Yeah, yeah, right. I've actually always been on there. I've been on YouTube since like I think it's since it first came out, but yeah, video is huge right now, and I like it more than the other social media because like the short form content's cool, but other than that, a lot of people are just dancing around, and not really being effective, right? That's more like you said, the brand reach as opposed to actually making sales, right? So do you have you found that when people first start off, they can concentrate more on the sales, and as they become more successful and stuff, that they might broaden that out to do more brand recognition?
Yeah, that's generally the path I'd recommend too, because if you get known for something, then you have that credibility that can expand and push out into wider markets. So I always say, talk to your ideal client as best as you can in the content and curate the majority of your content for them, but also show a little bit of your values. You can have a little bit of fun, show your personality, a little bit behind the scenes into your world so they connect with you as a human being. But I would always say in the beginning, go narrow, because at any point in time, if you've got one or two people that are in the buying decision making process and you're talking to them, that's when you're likely to get clients or customers. So go as narrow as you can in the beginning. And then, like you said, you can branch out once you've got known for something in that niche.
Right on, right on. So just drill down, narrow focus, define that avatar, target market, and just go for that, and just get all that sort of low hanging fruit, the people that are aware that they have a problem, and just get all those. When those start to diminish, then it's time to broaden your reach, and that could be like a year or two, or more sometimes. Sometimes it burns out real quick, depending on how aggressive you are and how big or small that market is, but sometimes that could last you a long time, to like I said, months and years, just going after that one little niche, and then people will hop on, that are not there, because they see that you're helping all these other people, right? That's pretty cool. So, who are your clients? Who's your target market?
So we focus on people that are probably in the advisory or slash educational space. So a lot of coaches, consultants, and the reason why we focus on that market is content plays a key role in separating them from everyone else in their industry. It's also how they build that trust and desire with someone that could be a fit for their services. And our purpose with what we do is to make the internet a better place. And there's a lot of scarcity, a lot of content that goes into newsfeed that puts people in a non-resourceful state. Whereas if someone's adding value and teaching them how to solve problems and giving them tips and tricks that make their life better, then to me, that content is going to make them feel better than before they read it. And so that's the way we look at it. Who's got a powerful message to share, who can bring value. And we like to work with those people. So we have a ripple effect of creating content that makes people's lives better.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, and that's where podcasting and things like that is really awesome, because it's almost like it's still that one to many on the host side and the the guest side, but it's more personal, like, because you're not scrolling through a feed. You're listening, and it's almost a little similar with video too, because videos you have to pay attention and stuff like that, but you're not scrolling through a feed with a podcast, and you just develop that more of a relationship with the person and stuff like that. And so for the people that have podcasts, or maybe a YouTube live or something like that, um, with the shorts, do you drive back to the longer versions, or do you drive back to a landing page, or all the above?
Depends what your goal is. So if you're trying to build the podcast, taking those short form grabs from an episode and saying, hey, if you want the full episode, the links below can really build up your audience and downloads for the podcast. So if that was your goal, then that's what I do. But if you had a business aspect and you're trying to get clients, then we call it the one URL rule. So if you've got an offer, so for us, it's the 30 days in 90 minutes content creation system, and you're doing content and you want to monetize and generate leads and traffic for that offer, you just have that one place that you always send people. So we always say go to ContentOnly.au and get a free download of the 30 days in 90 minutes content creation system. If you have your version of that, whatever your offer is, then when you're doing content or creating short form, you can drive back to that offer and start building a database, collecting leads, and start to measure what your performance is when it comes to your content strategy.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I did go to your website, and it's very it's in a good way, it's very simple, right? And like there's not a lot going on, and not a lot to distract you. And obviously there's one thing you could do, basically, and like you said, that one URL rule. So how do you keep the marketing going and keep the conversation going on the back end? Do you have like automated, emails, and send them? Do you have videos that with links that you send them to and stuff like that, to keep the conversation and the education about what you do going?
That's right. So one of the powerful reasons to collect people's emails or build a database is that you can continue to build the relationship. So once we do that, we can keep communicating. So our job is to keep stacking the value. So we want to get it to the point where people have got so much value they can go do it themselves without us, and that's a win because they'll be advocates of us in the marketplace and great referrers. Or people go, you know what, it makes more sense now that you've educated us and shown us how you can solve our problems for you to do it, because my time's more valuable spent and repurposed into income generating activities or in the area that I feel most lit up in my business. So that's the mentality that I have. If we have someone's email, then we can continue to develop that relationship and build the value. So that's the purpose reason to have a place where you send traffic and you had them opt in for a high value offer. and then build all the systems on the back end of that so you can keep the relationship progressing forward and forward over time.
That's awesome. Yeah, build the relationship, build value, and that's really key. And that's how you do business comfortably. Without trying to convince people or trick people or do all of that kind of stuff. That's super awesome. And then one thing you mentioned too is that like you build out things to the point with your information where if they really wanted to, they could do it themselves, right? And that comes back to this thing that I have this little acronym MTTM and MMTT, and it's called more time than money. So those are the people that do them themselves, and then MMTT is more money than time. And so like people that with like business owners, for instance, that have more money than time, they would just farm out to you, and you do like a 10 times better job anyways, and get more results much quicker, increasing that time to value, etc. That's super awesome. So yeah, back in the 90s, before the internet was big and everything, you did hold resources back and not let people know who you're, everything, but today you just give it out, and you want because you want the high level clients anyways, the people that have the expendable cash. It's not they're not trading food for your services. Like they're actually just, it's not really a big deal to them, but the and then the return on investment for them could be huge too. So if you're dealing with a company that has like six figures or under, in revenue for the year, or you're dealing with a company that does like 3 million or 10 million, like a 1%, difference for that 3 million to 10 million is huge. Not so much for the six figures or under, but for those million dollar clients, so just an incremental increase is huge, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars for those higher level clients. So it's an easier job, I think, for someone like you or me. And you get much more appreciation because they still appreciate those many thousands of dollars, right? Especially, because the services don't really cost that much comparatively,
It's a
it's
really
a
good difference. I think to add to that, that distinction can really help people that are in business. And my mentality is always create more demand than you can supply. So that way you can handpick the clients that you work with because you're going to have a very different experience if you offer services or in any category dealing with someone that's at that low end or entry level. And usually those clients high maintenance and they ask for more of your time. And the expectations are very different to someone that's paying for convenience, exclusivity. And like you said, that incremental ROI that someone that's at that higher level gets from the same product or the same service is 10x, 100x what that person who you deliver the same service to is at the low end of the scale. So that's some of the best business advice that you can give. Provide your service and solutions for established people because the results that they get with it, even with the exact same solution, will be significantly more than that person at the entry level. So I love what you said there.
right on, right on. But one thing I want to make clear to the listeners is that in order to do that, because you hear that a lot, to either charge more or go after higher level clients, and it's an easier way to go and stuff like that. But you have to you have to be good enough for that. You have to have the experience, you have to put in the reps, and put in the time and actually gotten results for people and put out that quality product where where you deserve, to be at that with those high level people, and they will appreciate and they will actually get value from what you're offering. You can't just like start off, tomorrow and I'm going to just go after all these high level clients. You need that's why there's little steps in both sides, so those lower level clients, they're not lower level as as far as people, there's lower as far as the revenue they create, in the marketplace at the current time. So those are the ones that go with the more beginner people, and then people that have been around since 2008 and in the trenches, they have the right to go after those bigger people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong. If your market is entry level, that's a great market too,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
absolutely stay in that space and help a lot of people. So that can be a great market. And there's nothing wrong with solving those people's problems. But again, make create more demand for that service, so you can turn away someone that's giving you red flags in terms of working with you, and pick the ones where you energetically feel, yeah, this client is going to be a good fit to come and work with us.
Right on. Yeah, yeah. And he said something too there too, like we're working in the trenches kind of a thing. So and that's what it is, like you're doing more of the implementation work when you're a younger business owner, and then you're doing more of the consultative and idea work, when you're, more seasoned, and the client levels, change around with that. So are people getting like results from these like what type of results are people getting from doing these like the shorter form content and putting more out there? And one other thing too is that and you touched on it really clearly before, but I want to touch on it again, is the 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 content quality as opposed to quantity, kind of a thing too.
Yeah, that's a really important thing to touch on. So first of all, speaking to the impact that it has. So I look at content as that invisible hand. Sometimes you don't even know the impact that it's directly having, because what happens with the current consumer marketplace and the people and generations coming through is they look and make purchasing decisions on handheld devices. So they could be going to your profiles, taking a look, and it's either increasing their desire to do business with you or decreasing. And you won't know if it's decreased because they've gone away and looked somewhere else. So if you have quality content that adds value, that's entertaining, that showcases your brand and values, what it will do is it'll help in the conversion process, because everyone at the high ticket level especially goes and has a look to justify their buying decision and do their research. So if they tick all those boxes by looking at your social media platform, going through your content, and building that passive relationship with you that you don't even know about, that's either going to convert more business for you, or if they're not getting that trust transference and ticking those boxes, it's going to lose business for you. So that's the invisible hand role that this content plays in your business, which is really important to understand.
Right on, right on. Yeah, and speaking to that, it's a like going back like a little over a decade, about 2009, 2010, I was in part of a mastermind for fitness and wellness for as I had a gym for 28 years. And the people that were during the mastermind, they actually had a gym. They were and it was really really successful. And they were you know internet marketing wasn't as big back then, so they were doing like local advertising, and there was this one ad that they would put out in this monthly magazine every month. And they were like, we put that out, it's like $1,000 a month or whatever it was, and I don't, people never mention it. I don't see any value from it. I think we're just going to stop it. And they stopped it, and their membership decreased. And that was the only thing they stopped doing. So people were seeing all these different touch points, and that was one of them. And that was probably a starting point, and they went on to other touch points on the web, and but they didn't realize, like you said, it was a hidden hand, that was actually sparking interest, and they took that away, so people didn't there was no interest to spark anymore, and it decreased their revenue. So they got the ad back, and it brought it back up.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. So if you're advertising, a lot of people complain that they're not converting very, very well. But I'd say, okay, so you get a lead, you have a conversation with them. What happens when they go and have a look? And if you haven't got much there to give them that nudge towards being 10 out of 10 in their buying decision, then that's where a lot of the conversion is breaking down in a lot of cases. I was having a meeting with an advertising agency with one of our clients that we do content for, and they were saying, if anything, you want to be doing more and more content right now while we're advertising more aggressively, because it'll rise all tides. The content will absolutely help more leads come through, will help those leads convert into clients. So it's a very complementary strategy in line with any other advertising marketing efforts that you're doing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And there's a gentleman, Jason Priestley. He's from Australia and he lives in London now. and he has this thing, like Google and these other people, they came up with it. But it's called the 7-11-4 strategy, where you have 7 hours of content. Like a consumer, the way they buy is different now. They do more research. So they consume 7 hours of content through a minimum of 11 different interactions on a minimum of 4 different platforms. So, most, like you said, most people don't have 7 hours of content to consume. So if you spark the interest, they go online, and you don't have the content, someone else does, they're going to go into that person's funnel, and you might have sparked interest and you lose to other people. So what you're doing, helping people provide more content online, is helping people to get that 7 hours up there that people can consume, make the decision, in today's market, and then, go with you or go with your client or whatever as the obvious choice. So that's super awesome.
The other thing too, if you're doing content frequently, you're also visible and front and center. So when you're in the feed, often, even if people aren't stopping consuming everything, they're still seeing you. And those touch points are what add up. When he's talking about those 11 times or whatever it is, I'm not sure what the figure is these days, but just by having that constant front of mind presence, that's when someone is at that point in their journey where they are looking for a solution. You're the first person they think of, and they don't think of that other person because you haven't been on the radar for a while.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah, and that being persistent and consistent, with the efforts. Like I call it being patient, persistent, and consistent with your efforts. But when people see that, that you're just posting every week, you're not going anywhere. And you become the guy or the girl, that does that, and it's and sure, when the opportunity arises where that person needs that service, they're gonna, yeah, that's the guy. That's the whatever guy, and or the whatever girl, and that's another key thing. So do you help people to develop that kind of a schedule, and all of that?
Yeah, so you have to get very deliberate with content. You can create it, and I always say build the muscle and just get started. Don't
Mhm.
overthink it. But when you start getting deliberate about the strategy, you can reverse engineer it to what your goals and plans are, because every business, every creator has probably got a different outcome they're pursuing. So if you use the model that we use, which is repurposing content. So either from a podcast episode, if you're a podcaster, if you're not a podcaster, we just invite a client onto a conversation just like we're having on Zoom. We
Mhm.
research what their audience is typing into Google and into YouTube. We grab the questions we know they can add value to, and we just ask them those questions in the conversation and record it. And that's how we get the video content. And then we repurpose that conversation into text. So we get the written content. So what we're able to do is have this folder full of content for every month, and that allows us to put a piece of content out every business day, both in video and written format across the different days. So there's a variety which appeals to different styles of content that people like to receive. And when you've created content that solves that target audience's problems, and you've also got a schedule in mind that's going to put that content out when they're likely to be front and center on that social media platform, then you start to get a very different result than when you're just winging it and trying to guess what to post, when to post, and how to do it. So the more deliberate you get with it, generally the better the results you're going to get with a content strategy. So we help every single client map out what it is for their target market, but also in line with what their personal goals are for their business, for their podcast, whatever they're trying to build through the content strategy.
Right on, right on. So, and then as far as the content itself, uh, like for video, like what's the length of the content that you've seen that works well?
It's really important to understand what the algorithms are preferencing in the current climate. And TikTok's changed the landscape a lot over the last few years. The reason why we have shorts and we have reels is largely due to TikTok changing the way that the generations coming through like to consume content. So short form content, usually sub 60 seconds in length, is asking the audience for a very low time investment. The average human attention span is 8.25 seconds last time I checked. And a lot of videos get played without sound, which is why you'll see the captions on just about every video that's put out by a creator or an authority on the social media platform. So that content can have a really quick run of getting lots of traction, even if you don't have followers, which is exciting. If you post it and you've got a headline that gets someone curious that's in your target market, you post it at the right time, you use the right hashtag, even if you only got a handful of followers, that can still reach a couple of thousand people, which is why short form can be really powerful for getting some traction and getting on the board. But as we said earlier, if you've got long form content there, where someone can accelerate the relationship by spending 20, 30, 40 minutes with you listening to a podcast or a longer video, if you can drive them back to those episodes of those shows, then you're going to accelerate the process and time that it takes for that person to be along the timeline with you. So we say short form's great for getting on someone's radar, for giving a short burst of value and for having high frequency because you can do a lot of short form content because you can produce it a lot faster. But if you've got long form content to support that, especially in the podcast format, then you've got the ultimate 1-2 combo to create deep relationships with your audience.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah. So the short form content is a easier way to pull people into the ecosphere. But do you drive people to like places where they could find more content, to get more immersed and more educated about the person and the business, or do you drive them to that one URL?
Yeah, just again, if you're someone that's a creator, you're building a show like a podcast, I would drive them back to the podcast because no doubt on the podcast, if you do have a business element, it probably gets mentioned on the show. But if you're a business and your primary goal is to acquire customers and build a brand, then I would say the one URL strategy is probably more appropriate. So for a lot of our clients who are non-podcasters, we'll have them do their short form content, and that'll drive back to one destination where they can collect leads and opportunities by giving away a lead magnet, something of value up front that solves a problem, essentially risk free, with the exchange being an email or something of that nature. So, depending on which side of the table you're on there, I would build your podcast if you're a podcaster using short form and driving back to the show. If you're in business, I would drive them back to that single destination where you can build a database, collect leads, and give some value up front to move that person further along the timeline to being a potential client with you.
Right on, right on. And what about live streams?
Yeah, live streams are a really fun way to show the authentic, unedited, unscripted side of yourself, and really cool to do on the fly. So if you've got something entertaining happening in your world, whether it's in the business, you could be on site on a project, something's happening, the ability to go live and showcase that I think is really raw and authentic. So it has a really strong pull for what I call attract and repel. It'll instantly help your audience decide, okay, I align with this brand, with this person because I'm seeing the most authentic version of them, or I'm not, which is really powerful as well, because the faster you can get an aligned audience that really buy into what you do and share the same values, the more valuable that audience becomes. So I'm a big advocate for people that are willing to hit record, go live, and share a message. It's an interesting skill and confronting for a lot of people. But like anything, once you start doing it, you'll build that muscle and you'll get better and better at it. So I'm a big advocate of people doing some live streaming to showcase a little bit of what's going on in their world in real time.
That's awesome. There's a guy I was interviewing last week. He called it building your hustle muscle.
I like that.
That's super awesome. So, so you mentioned, like if possible, posting content daily, maybe even sometimes multiple times a day. But so with that being said, do you use a scheduler or are they not good to use?
If
Because you hear
it's a
that, the reason why I'm asking is because you hear that sometimes that doesn't won't get the same reach as if you do it yourself and all that kind of stuff. So what do you think about that?
if you've got a lot of platforms have their own native scheduling tools now. So if you use the platform's own scheduling tools, I'd say go for it. So you can schedule on YouTube, Meta, which does Facebook and Instagram. You can schedule on TikTok. So most platforms have their own scheduling capabilities. So
Mhm.
I'm a big advocate of, if you need to schedule, make sure you use the platform scheduling tool, because that won't have that third party impact that if you're using something like Social Bee or Hero Post or something else might have, where they're going to give it less preference to their own internal technology.
Right on, right on. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So and that's cool that they have the platforms themselves have the schedulers now. That's key basically. So what do you think AI's role is now, like going into the future?
It's a great question. I think AI is there to serve as something that can create efficiency in output, but it's really important that the human that's driving the AI tool gives it the best input. So you're not creating a situation where you are doing duplicate content that's vanilla. It looks the same as everyone else's. So you don't separate yourself, or it's not authentic and it's not original. So what you need to do is start with original content. So a conversation like we're having right now, and then you can start using AI to repurpose it for efficiency, or AI to speed up the ability to put things like captions and to transcribe it into text. So then you can turn that text into posts. So I think having that healthy relationship where there's a human there for quality control, using the AI tools that you like and that can help with that output efficiency is the most harmonious relationship. But you'll see a lot of businesses shoot themselves in the foot because they'll go to a tool like ChatGPT and say, give me 30 posts for my plumbing business. Those posts have been posted 300 times in the same month by other plumbing businesses that have done the same thing and have asked ChatGPT the same questions. So start with something original that no one else has created, and then use AI to repurpose it for efficiency from there where it's appropriate.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and you're always going to have those people, right? Just like back in the day, it was these little things that would they would create all these different auxiliary sites, like hundreds and thousands of auxiliary sites to link back to yours, and to get all these fake backlinks and all like it's amazing. Like people always try to like game the system, and be lazy and have it done for you. And it's one of those things where where like you said, you it enhances, but you need to have that human touch and human interaction within it, in order to stand out. you
The
know
other thing is on the algorithm notes. So each social platform wants their audience to be retained so they can show more advertising and earn more revenue. So if you're putting content out that's disengaging, no one's responding to, the algorithm's going to go, don't show it to anyone because no one's interested. So that's why being original, having that quality there, being relevant and entertaining is going to propel you past all the any noise that the AI content is making, because the algorithms just won't show it to people if they don't think it's going to have any retention, and people are going to click away from it because then they can't show as much advertising and they lose revenue out of it.
Right on, right on. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why something like a podcast or even a live stream or something is so crucial, because it is original content. And you can't dispute that fact. And then, having a professional like yourself to chop it up and have it all into these logical, valuable, snippets and stuff like that is, super awesome, especially for getting people into the ecosphere, like you said, and then expanding from there. So I just wanted to be clear. So so you do like the full package. It's not just videos. Like you'll do some written content and stuff like that as well.
Correct. So the 30 days in 90 minutes system is designed to create video and written content in the short format for social media. So how it works is we take the footage, whether it's a podcast episode or that interview style that I mentioned, then we cut that up into your short form video, so sub 60-second clips for social media. We take the transcription of that interview to a tool called rev.com, and that gives us an AI transcript, but it's the words that have come out of your mouth. And then our copywriting team will mine through that transcript to find the posts that create authority for that brand or business, that add value. They'll rewrite those posts so it's digestible and it's got a hook and it grabs you and it's got the right hashtags. And then you've got those written posts and those video posts. So you've got the perfect balance of content to go out across your social media.
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's really, yeah, it's super cool that you do that. Like you've shared a lot of super awesome, valuable insights, for people, and really appreciate that. Is there like one big idea that people should take away from this episode?
I think going back to that note, if you're on the sidelines and you're spectating, the only way you're going to get better is by getting on the field and getting feedback. A lot of people are so reluctant to get started. So my message is always to them, don't be someone that's in the grandstands yelling at the people on the field. Get on the field. And just like if you haven't been for a run for 2 years, the first time you do it, it's going to suck, it's going to hurt, it's not going to feel good at all. You're going to want to quit. Content's the same. You're going to feel the same way, but if you post again and you do another video, you'll get better, you'll get a little bit further, get a little bit more traction, a little bit more views. And over time, if you keep compounding that, getting better, like with running, you get fitter, you can run a little bit further, feel a little bit better. In 2 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, you're going to have this asset that is there to serve your business or your brand for the rest of your life because you planted so many content seeds. So stop thinking about it, stop watching, get on the field and start posting, and then see what your audience responds to, double down on that, and stuff they don't respond to, go, okay, note for next time, do less of that type of content.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Well,
So, for the people that like, hey, this sounds really cool. I want to get, find out more about that. How can people get follow you or get a hold of you?
yeah, so practicing what we preach. So we give away the system for free. So you can see step by step exactly how to do the 30 days in 90 minutes extraction system that we have, where it'll show you how to create those 30 days worth of content in 90 minutes. So if you go to ContentOnly.au, you can download that. I show you in a video tutorial how you can do the system yourself. And then if it's something that you thought, you know what, I'm at that stage where I am further along and it makes more sense for someone else to do it for me, that's where we can support you. But it's there for anyone to take and use themselves. And there's always that backup option of using us if you're a little bit further along the timeline and it's more valuable to be spending your time in other areas in the business. So ContentOnly.au, it's completely free to download the system there.
Right on, right on. Yeah, so ContentOnly.au, and we'll be sure to put that in the show notes for the video and audio portion as well. Okay, so and thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Al. It's been amazing. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Awesome, awesome. So that concludes this episode of Podcast Marketing Secrets. This is Al Morentin signing off. I hope you have a successful day.